Hey, and welcome to episode 3 of our Far Cry 3 Let's Play. So we're going to do a couple things before we head out to Dr. Earnhardt's mansion. And we'll probably be heading to that mansion by about episode 5 or so. First, we're going to go ahead and put our skill point in. Now, you'll notice we've unlocked all those skills like I said we would. And you'll also notice that each tattoo set, the heron, the shark, the spider, they all have a sort of specialty. The heron's for long range, the shark is for healing, and the spider is for stealth and survival. And survival translates into movement and crafting. And one of the better ones you can get, which we need to unlock, is expert archery. And you'll see why later, because the bow is a good weapon, and it's the only weapon you get specific upgrades for. So, I'm going to show off one of the side quests. This is a very common type of side quest called Wanted Dead. Essentially, you have to go find a pirate leader and kill him with a takedown or a melee attack. So, the way you tell who's the leader is on the camera. Now he has a gold star above his head. If you kill him with anything other than a knife, you fail the mission, which is a little obnoxious, but it's alright. It's usually doable. Another thing is, if you die in these missions and you've already killed the commander, the mission counts as completed. So, if you find a particularly difficult one, that's one solution. So, this is my own mistake I'm about to make here. This guy notices me. But I do get to show off how you can get back into stealth pretty quickly. You'll notice he saw me, but because I was using a silenced weapon, other people didn't know where I was. And so I was able to keep my position hidden long enough to get the commander. Now I get in a protracted shootout with this guy. And this is sort of a wake-up call that I need a new weapon. Because pistols are not very strong, and this is weak for a pistol. I think it's actually tied with a couple SMGs for the lowest per-shot damage in the game. Another cool facet, you'll notice these are friendly since they're not showing up as threats on our camera. And they're also dressed in blue and green, unlike the pirates, or maybe just green. Oh, there's some blue. Unlike the pirates, who are always dressed in red. So you can commandeer a friendly vehicle, and then the people who were riding on the vehicle will get back on, and you'll have some rocket warriors on your side if you go into a confrontation. But we're just going back to the billboard to do the hunting quest. Now, hunting quests essentially require you to use a certain weapon to kill a bunch of animals. And before we get to that, on the way there I noticed this guy. You can get a repair tool and repair people's cars for them, and they'll give you a certain amount of money. Now back to the hunter quest. So we got the shotgun from that area there. And you'll notice I'm having some trouble with those vines. The best way to get on vines, you can walk just straight towards them and climb them, but the better thing to do is to jump, and then while you're in there, press space, and you'll be able to climb on the vines. Now, 99% of the time I do a hunter quest, I have Hunter's Instinct, which lets me see the animals. I didn't do it this time because dogs will eventually just come to you. Now, I didn't notice it, but this is actually the same area that we looted on our way to the hunting ground quest in the tutorial. So that was why I was lingering on those, because I didn't remember them from that. So I was lingering on those loot items. So there's the dogs. They make that howling noise, which is another reason it's just kind of a waste to use Hunter's Instinct on a dog hunting mission. Most of the time. There's a couple dog missions you want to use it. Another thing, you don't have to use the specific weapon that they provide for you, unless it's a one-of-a-kind weapon like a bow or an RPG. So when it says shotgun hunt, you can use any shotgun. And when it says you can just use whatever category of weapon it requests for the hunt. So we're getting these dog skins because later we'll be able to make a syringe pack out of them. And I tend to, since I'm not 100% sure which exact bags require which exact skins, I tend to be pretty liberal with how many skins I pick up. Just because it's helpful. And there's the last dog. So those missions are pretty straightforward. Just kill all the enemies in a certain area and you'll be able to win. Anyway, so we were able to build a simple fuel sling, which is fuel for the flamethrower, which we don't have yet. But in a main quest mission later on, we'll get a flamethrower, so it'll be nice to have some extra ammo for it. And I was going to show off that mission there. That's a Wanted Dead quest we're not going to do quite yet. And this is one situation you really don't want to be in. When you've fired on an animal and it retracts pirates. I actually do a little bit of hunting in hostile territory here, but for the most part you want to hunt in territory where there aren't pirates, or else you get in a situation like this. And I do that throughout the video, so it does make for interesting viewing at least. Grenades have a pretty decent area of effect, so another thing you may have noticed from our Wanted Dead quest, grenades don't reveal your position, even though they're quite loud. They're not exploding where you are, they're exploding where they are. So they aren't able to track your position based off of a grenade, even though they should be able to do that visually. So this guy's covered by his friends, so we don't want to jump on him too quickly. So we're going to wait for this guy to get behind him. And we're going to take him down. You'll notice we were able to do that from quite a ways. So those Komodo dragons are normally pretty nasty, but luckily the shotgun is a one-shot, one-kill. And you'll also notice that guy fighting a Komodo dragon, we were able to take advantage of that situation. So by just picking up that AK, it's in our... we own it now. We can get that AK anytime we want now from the gun shop. So it's really a useful opportunity to do Hunter's Quest early game, because you'll get a lot of free weapons from it. And anytime you see an enemy with a different type of weapon, you also want to take those weapons from them. Just pick them up and set them back down, and then they're in your then you're able to buy them. So as you can see, we have the AK, but the AK is almost straight up not as good as its cousin below it, the STG-90. And the STG-90 just has a better fire rate, and you can also attach things to it. So we're going to get the STG-90 here for a little while. We don't use it too much, unfortunately, just because assault rifles are very loud, very bad for stealth, and I like being sneaky. So we're going to go ahead and do this supply drop quest now. Supply drop quests essentially are you racing against the clock to drop off medical supplies to some villager. And it's always some absurd amount of time, like 35 seconds. Like someone's going to die in 35 seconds, but the medicine has just been sitting there that whole time. And they're perfectly fine until you actually get on the thing. I will freely admit I skipped a section here where I embarrassed myself on those rocks there. Still kind of bump up against them, but I'm able to get past them this time. I'm not great at driving, and PC interface in general does not lend itself to driving. So that combination usually winds up in me embarrassing myself in vehicle sections. But we were able to make it this time. Most of the time when you do a supply drop, that little box of medicine disappears off of the vehicle, but not in this case for whatever reason. So now we're going to head back to Amanaki Town, and then we're going to hunt some tappers. And tappers are sort of in the same category as pigs, goats. Not very tough. They're not aggressive. They just run. So they're fairly easy to hunt in comparison to other animals. The easiest animal to hunt, in my opinion, are actually dogs or dingoes, which pretty much act exactly the same as dogs, but they have their own special pelt. Because they come straight towards you, and they're not particularly dangerous, even though they're aggressive and attack in numbers. You can just mow down dogs pretty trivially. I'm sorry, I think this is goats, not tappers. Yeah, tappers come later. My mistake. I'm really hoping that the Windows Media Player bar at the bottom doesn't show up on YouTube. I'm pretty certain it doesn't, so we should be alright. So I used the Hunter's Instinct here, and I didn't really need to because the goats were in plain sight. I had my headphones on backwards, so I thought they were coming from this direction. But you'll notice we can see some animals through that mountain there because of Hunter's Instinct. It really is quite a useful syringe, and most of the time you do a hunting quest, you want to use Hunter's Instinct. So I'm going to try and get those goats, but there's those pirates nearby, so if I shot at the goats, they would hear me and come and attack. So if you remember how I said the patrols can be tough because more and more patrols will come and see the carnage and join in the fight, you'll see that here. You'll also see a little sort of mini quest where someone's being held up by pirates. If you throw a rock, they start shooting at them, and luckily they weren't able to kill the woman who gives you the quest reward in time. So this is the MP5 submachine gun I picked up off screen. It's actually quite strong. A lot of people avoid SMGs entirely in this game until they get a signature SMG that's really strong. I use the MP5 a lot because later on we'll be able to silence it, and it's so good to have a fully automatic silenced weapon in the early game. It's very, very useful to have. And MP5 itself isn't that bad, except it chews through ammo pretty quickly, and what automatic gun doesn't? So, as I demonstrated, these patrols will keep coming in, and it's pretty easy to kill them if you can get them right as they're decelerating, because they don't decelerate with any sense of urgency. So you can usually just shoot them while they aren't able to defend themselves. And here comes another patrol, yet again. This is why it's a huge priority to take down outposts. These patrols are actually coming from an outpost that is in an area we haven't revealed yet. So I'm getting this car off the guy so I can loot him, and just happened to reveal where that person was. I could hear him shouting, but I couldn't tell where they were coming from.
I can't thank you enough.
I mean, you thank me with $50. I'll take it. Alright, so finally we're going to go, if I remember correctly, we're finally going to go and hunt those goats. So, when you're hunting these animals, it's kind of a waste of ammo to do anything except just shoot at them. Or, I'm sorry, stab them. That didn't make any sense. Just use your knife, because you do run faster than the goats. Yet they've disappeared and we've already used our hunter's instinct. The fighting probably dispersed them, but here they are. Here's one. So you've got a pretty decent range on that melee, even though it doesn't look like you'd be able to hit them from there. You can. So we're already able to craft an arrow quiver, and I believe we could craft our second weapon holster as well, which is why we're hunting goats in the first place. But we want to be able to get plenty of goat skin. I actually don't get enough goat skin in this for everything you need goat skin for. I had forgotten about munition packs and grenade packs. Munition packs are not ammo packs, they're for explosives. Now, this mechanic, sliding down the mountains, reduces the damage you receive from falls a lot. Ideally, you should be able to go through it and take no damage, but in practice, you're always going to wind up taking a little bit of damage from sliding down a mountain, unless you're very cautious about it. And if you're in that situation, you're off and running from something. So now we can finally craft our weapon holster and hold 2 weapons. I actually don't get the other holsters as quickly as I should. You have, at the very beginning, you have hunting grounds for all the animals you need to build up to the max level weapon holster, which is unique among craftable items other than, craftable items, because most of the time when you have to craft an item from animals, you have to do a special Path of the Hunter quest to find a rare animal to get the last tier of that item. So that would hold, for example, with the rucksack, if you want to get the highest level rucksack that lets you hold 96 items, you need to kill an undying bear. And we'll certainly be capturing that on video sometime. So I believe I'm hunting tappers now. Sorry for the miscommunication earlier. But there are pirates here. And you'll notice the animals here have interaction. Predators will chase their prey. And you can take advantage of it because they don't ruin the animal for the sake of looting or anything. But you'll see this tiger actually turns and attacks us. Tigers are really tough enemies, and you don't want to take them lightly. If you're going in an area where there are tigers about, it's usually best to carry an automatic weapon and do as much damage as you can. Every time, I've been watching this video a lot for my recording purposes, editing purposes, and every time I pull out that C4, I yell at myself to throw it at the tiger, but I just don't. So tigers are pretty resistant to enemy weapons, so it's really useful to let a tiger take care of them. They have a lot of HP, so even completely unloading with the MP5 wasn't enough, despite all the damage it had already taken from the pirates. Luckily, they're not subtle creatures. Like, they're very loud. They roar a lot. So you'll usually know when a tiger's coming. So we're almost out of ammo for MP5, so we're going to go ahead and pick up this pirate AK. And you won't see a whole lot of people playing with the AK, so consider this some rare footage of it actually being used outside of co-op. So you can tell there are already additional patrols coming in to assist these pirates. This is the biggest problem with fighting in enemy territory, is it's really hard to end the fight definitively because enemies keep on coming. And I got caught by another patrol there, but I'm going to solve this one pretty quickly. We haven't shown off Molotovs before. Molotovs are very nice because they damage on contact, or they explode on contact, and in jungle areas, the fire will stay on the ground and spread. Otherwise, if, say, the person's standing on a rock or they're in cement, you pretty much need almost a direct hit to damage them. So, whether or not it's better to use a grenade or a Molotov is usually a situation of terrain. No. Can't do it. We'll have to go around this time. Finally. No, get back here, you weird pig thing? Tappers are weird. Like, I just consider them generally bizarre creatures. So you'll notice that blue area next to us looks a lot like our mini-map before we had gotten the first radio tower, and that's because that area is not included in our mini-map. We need to capture a radio tower before we can see it. And we also need dingoes for the heavy-duty rucksack, which are just like dogs, except they have special fur for making better items. So, before I head out, I want to show off, you'll notice that little black smidge on the mini-map. That smidge is a cave entrance. You can go in there and Usually if you see loot on the mini-map, but it's not obviously on the surface, and you see a cave entrance nearby, it's a good idea to check out the cave entrance. So this cave freaked me out because of the skulls, but I wind up realizing there's nothing here. But yeah, the ambience in these caves is honestly pretty freaky. I didn't realize those were coming from outside, so I was looking around me for threats. So I'll see you guys in the next video.